They're doing it, but it's wicked. It's evil. Good morning. This is Larson Hicks. It's good to have you here on the Larson Hicks Show. Thanks for joining me. And today I want to talk about, well, there's so much going on right now in the news. I'm recording this on May 11th, 2022. It's just come out that Roe v. Wade looks like it's set to be overturned by the Supreme Court. And there's a lot of madness, predictably, coming from a lot of parts of the of society right now about that prospect. And you know, it's just but it's been interesting. It's been an interesting thing to observe, and the thing that I saw this last week that I felt like was worth commenting on is the fact that a lot of these companies are kind of, you know, out of their from their position of their supposed moral high ground, offering to pay for employees' abortions if they end up having to go across state lines to get an abortion, because Roe v. Wade has enabled their states to make it illegal. Then they'll pay up to $4,000, I think is what I heard from Amazon. And it's so funny to me because it really highlights who corporations are and what they're about. And let me just back up, take a sip of my tea, and then I'll back up. Okay, so the thing that I want to point out here is something that I'm sure I've talked about in other videos, but the traditional view of sphere sovereignty and the Christian view of this is that you have three spheres of sovereignty, three spheres of authority, and that's government, family, and church, or government, the household, and the church. And those three spheres are legitimate and have a legitimate role in our lives, and they ought to be respected. The boundaries of those spheres ought to be respected, and the responsibilities and the authority that each of those spheres has should also be respected. And what's happened, I think, in the last 100 years, and has really accelerated, I think, in the last 50 years is the addition of the fourth sphere of the corporation. And so you've got family, church, government, and employer or corporation. And I'm not trying to say that there's never been employees or employers. It's just that that's happened under the heading of the household. That employees were servants or employees or workers in a household. So they were serving a household that was productive and that had business enterprises, and that was the context for employee-employer relationship was a household business. And a household is going to run a business in a very different way than a modern corporation is going to run. The modern corporation is going to have a board of directors. You know, that board of directors are all going to sign contracts that they are going to do their fiduciary duty to the shareholders to ensure that the highest their highest calling is return on investment for shareholders, and so that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. And then, you know, you've got funding that's coming in from all manner of places, and as Scripture teaches us, as we should just know intuitively, there's always strings attached with money that comes from different places, and you need to be cognizant of that. The borrower is slave to the lender, right? And so what's happened as corporations have kind of come onto the scene as a new sphere of authority and sovereignty, and one that I don't think is legitimate in the same way. It's certainly become less and less legitimate as what it's done is corporations have tried to subsume all of the other spheres. And I think it's obvious when you look at the family, the household. The definition of a household, the role of a household has become very, very, very limited. Education happens outside of the household. Work happens outside of the household. And more, it's just your household is really like, it's kind of an ethereal sort of concept. You have a place that you sleep and eat and recreate, and then you've got this kind of these relationships of parents and children and husband and wife. But it's not that's really it, right? And a big part of that, the productive part, the sort of dominion taking part of a household, the job that Adam and Eve were given to be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth, that's all been outsourced to the corporation. So dominion taking is not done in the household anymore. We're fruitful in the household still, or at least, but let's get to that, right? So that's one of the ways that the corporation has started to encroach on the church's sphere, and I'd say the church has also become radically has shrunk radically in our lifetime. I mean, I'm in the healthcare industry. You still see the vestiges of the church in healthcare, where you've got Baptist and Lutheran and Catholic Health, and you've got all these, St. Joseph's and St. Mary's and all these different all these different hospitals that were a nonprofit charitable ministry of the church, and all of that's being taken over by corporations. All of it, corporations and the state. Right, the state has also swollen its role. It's become it's basically said, hey, we'll take over all of the charitable work that the church used to do. Widows, orphans. We'll take care of those people. We'll just get tax you more. And unfortunately, the church has been all too eager to hand all of that over. And on a micro level, I think church staff, pastors, elders are just happy to not have so much responsibility, and happy to have this really shrunk, limited sort of responsibility. I was talking to somebody last night. Our elder session was meeting last night at our church with some new leaders, and one of our guys said that he was an elder at a church that met once a quarter, 4 times a year. Wow. I don't know how you shepherd a flock faithfully if you meet 4 times a year, as a session. Like, there's got to be. Now, okay, I'm being uncharitable. Maybe those elders, and I don't know how many they had at that church, but maybe they were each being very diligent and very self-motivated and accountable in some way, and they were getting a lot done, and they just didn't have to meet. Maybe that's the case. At our little church, we meet every single week, and we have a huge to-do list every single week, and we almost never make it all the way through. There's just a lot going on. There's pastoral issues, there's logistical issues, there's planning for ministry and different things we're doing. So anyway, I say all of that to say that the church has divested itself and given the corporations and the state a lot more role. But the thing that Amazon paying for abortions, I think at one point corporations might have been able to pretend like religion was not something that they were neutral towards, but I think that's going away. I mean, that's going away. We saw it during Black Lives Matter, in America here. We saw it during COVID, where there was kind of it was kind of like the corporation just thought, well, it's our job to take care of to make medical decisions for our people. That's our authority. That's our legitimate authority. No, it's not. When has that ever been your legitimate authority? That's a family thing. But no, the corporations want that, and they now want religious training. They now want religious ideological control, because they know if we can promote our religion, we can make more money. Okay, and that sounds like, oh, come on, like really, but seriously, think about it. What if you go through all the social issues, just go through all the culture wars, social issues? What position have most corporations taken? I can tell you that if you just apply the simple filter of which position makes corporations more money, that's probably going to be the one that corporations typically take, right? So feminism, okay, let's increase the labor force, which also drives the cost down of labor. So now, instead of 50% of the adults in America being in the labor force, more or less, and that being the men, let's increase that substantially, and let's get the adult women involved. That's going to A, give us more people, but B, it's gonna make their rates more competitive. And I think I've seen analysis on the household income, median household income historically. It hasn't gotten better. It's not like people are as a household, husband and wife, dual income, are bringing home more money than a single income father used to in the, let's say, 50s or 60s or 40s. In real dollars, right? If you're adjusting for inflation, they're not bringing home more money now. It's just that. It's just that corporations have realized most people are going to be dual income, and so we're going to adjust for that, and they're going to hit the household income level they need to survive. And again, this comes back to, I recorded a video about employment equaling slavery, and that sounds well. The point I was trying to make is that if you don't own any property, if you don't own and property, I mean specifically productive property, if you don't own the means of production, the means of making things and selling things, and you are paid essentially a subsistence, enough money to not to go out and build your own company, but enough money to live comfortably, then that's like the definition of a slave. I mean, that's historically always been the definition of a slave. I digress. That's another video, and you can watch my other video on that. But just coming back to, feminism. Which stance on feminism makes companies more money? I would say about all of this is that they're wrong. I think they're actually wrong in the long run. But in the short run, the most obvious answer is, it's going to make them more money. Okay, so corporations support feminism. Let's look at the gay agenda. Which position makes companies more money? Okay, let's think about it. Like, do we want more employees that are unattached to a spouse, or who aren't bogged down by kids, but having other priorities in their lives, like their kids' future and their plans for their kids and all that? It'd be better for us to have people that only care about their job and are enslaved to their sin. Great, check. That's the agenda we're going to support. And then abortion. I mean, this is just, you may be thinking like, well, okay, those two are kind of weak arguments, but look at abortion. Okay, if it, as a company, does Amazon make more money encouraging their employees to have their babies, or paying $4,000 so they can get back to work? It's simple math. Amazon offers 6-month paid maternity and paternity leave. So do you want to pay 6 to 12 months if it's two Amazon employees that are married? Do you want to pay for all of that time off, or would you rather buy them off to go kill their baby and get back to work for $4,000? It seems like an obvious choice if you're thinking of it. And again, the board has a fiduciary responsibility to return to make a return on investment. So they're doing their job, right? And I hope that you hear that I'm saying they're doing it, but it's wicked, it's evil, and they're really not doing it because if they're doing it well and they're doing it with excellence and with honor and integrity, then they're not going to pay people off to have to kill their babies. So anyway, I felt like that was something worth pointing out, and I think it's hookup culture and just sexual revolution, all of that stuff. I feel like it's all corporations are encourage it because it's good for business. It's good for keeping their labor costs down, and so and making a workforce that's more mobile. People that don't have roots, that don't have strong family ties, don't have strong church ties. Again, all of this stuff is really good for corporations, and it's a strong-willed, religious man who has a large family and has and not just immediate family, but broader family in the area. That's not a person that it's going to be very easy to just say, well, we want you to move here, we want you to change jobs, we want you to do this, that, and the other. It creates barriers, that you wouldn't have to deal with if you just had a person whose only real identity or value in their life is their job, and their anyway. So I'll stop ranting on that, but I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was worth talking about. Just another good example, I think, of why I think we need, as Christians, to be exiting corporations, looking for ways to start our own businesses, and looking at ways to start businesses with more of a household framework in mind, more of a long-term generational approach. And I'm sure I've talked about this on the channel before. I should probably record some more videos talking about it because it's something I'm very passionate about. And I really do think there are ways for Christians to get into business without the mindset of, hey, we're going to be the next Steve Jobs or we're going to be the next Elon Musk, and just build healthy, modest businesses, businesses that are going to employ, they're going to provide a living for their family and hopefully for their kids. Like if that's your goal as a business, that's a pretty awesome goal. And that's actually a noble and actually an ancient tradition you're entering into as a head of your household, to say, I'm going to go out into the marketplace and build a way to provide for my family. And if I'm good at it, it's going to be successful, and I'm going to be able to hand it off to my children and to my grandchildren. And it's going to give you a seat at the table, in the gates, in the high places, and in the a position of influence in politics and in the community, because now you're an employer and you're affected directly by regulations and taxes and things like that. So I'll stop there. If any of this is interesting to you, I'd encourage you to go check out some of my other videos. I did a video early on. I think the title was Startup Porn and the Corporate Rat Race. I also had a video about household slavery equals employment. You can check that one out. And I'm just kind of looking through business versus startup. Not the same thing. That's a little bit more of a technical video. But yeah, Buy a Business. That was one of my videos, Buy a Business. I think that was back in November of 2021. So yeah, check some of those out if some of these ideas are interesting. I also did a video, or I did a Sunday school at Trinity Reformed Church in Huntsville. I think that was maybe like November of 2020. I can't say for sure. I'll find the link and put it in the notes. But I did a whole Bible study on the household, and I talked about the seasons of a man's life, which is another video I've recorded here. So a lot of these same themes. This is something I'm very interested in, something I talk a lot about. But I hope that this was helpful and interesting, and we'll get back on here soon. I've been traveling a good bit for work. I've also had this weird voice thing that I can't seem to shake, and so I've been having to save my voice for work because it seems to go out on me as the day wears on. So I hope to I'm trying to take care of my voice, figure out how to fix my voice. Just talked to a ENT physician friend of mine who gave me some good tips. So we'll be hopefully back up and running at full steam again soon. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of this channel, and I love your comments. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe so I can get so you'll know when new stuff comes out. All right, we will talk to you later. Cheers.